Ladies and gentlemen, the 2022 NFL regular season has come to an end. We now got playoff football coming up. So, are you ready for playoff football right now? Are you ready after what just happened here in the very last week of the season? Let us know down in the comments. Because, man, do we got some stuff to talk about tonight. Everybody, welcome to Big Fat Dubs. Welcome back.
Thank you. That's what we need. That's what I was waiting for. God damn. We talked about intros and outros, and our whole intro is welcome to Big Fat Dubs.
I like to leave them in suspense, man. Come on. It's what we do around here. We gotta keep them on their toes. We gotta keep them guessing.
Yeah, guess game is called Guess Kelly's Intro.
Damn right, guess my intro, because it's gonna be different every time. So, everybody, like I said, regular season is now over with. Now we're moving on to playoff football. We had some killer games here this week. Definitely some upsets that hurt teams getting into the playoffs, but also the teams that actually got some major help to get into the playoffs as well. So, before we get started, Ryan, do you have anything you want to add on before we get going?
Nope. We don't need. We'll talk about it as we go along. Not only are we going to talk about the NFL, but there are some things that we'll also bring up in the other sports world. But we'll go ahead and get started with the review of the Week 18 NFL season.
Sounds good. We'll start off here with our Saturday games. The Chiefs at the Raiders, about what we expected in this game. Chiefs just put a whooping on the Raiders. Did not rest their starters, actually, in this game, if I remember correctly. Unless they pulled them out here toward the second half, fourth quarter. But otherwise, Chiefs just staying dominant, especially with that number one seed that was up for grabs for them. They went out and they got it.
Well, that was the whole thing, is the Chiefs were fighting for that home field advantage going into the playoffs. So the Chiefs coming out on the top, 31-13. Great game by the Chiefs. The Raiders ending to their very disappointing season. Not really a game to watch unless you are a Chiefs fan. It was very mediocre. The Raiders, we'll have to see what they do next year and revamp their team.
Exactly. I hope they're going to be definitely better at it next year. Especially, they're going to have to figure out their quarterback situation for next year. If they're going to give Carr one more shot, or if he's out and they're going to move on to somebody else. Up next, we had the AFC South Divisional title that was up for grabs. And what I think we've been saying, the Jaguars are the most deserving. They went out there and they got that W against the Titans. They're going to the playoffs.
The Jaguars' defense is more deserving. Their offense was not good. Trevor Lawrence, on multiple occasions, overthrew his receivers. His running backs couldn't get anything going. His receivers would go out there and make some great plays, and Evan Ingram at tight end. But the saving grace was their defense.
All these pictures that you've been showing of Trevor Lawrence, leading the team and all that, no.
I mean, he's had some good games leading up to this game, but if you were to talk about this game and to say that Trevor Lawrence led him, no, he did not lead
this
him.
One particular game, no.
No, it was 100% their defense, including the game-winning touchdown to put him on top. I think all the credit has to go to that defense. And Doug Peterson leading this team and everything like that, but it's really got to be the defense. They stepped up. And, I mean, they stepped up big just by handling Derrick Henry. Though he had 109 yards, watching it, especially towards the end of the game, he was getting hit behind the backfield. They were putting pressure on on the quarterback. The defense just played very, very well.
Yeah, I think you said the 2017, 2018 Jaguars defense kind of looking like that, uh, getting back to that team where they were just the number one defense in the league, looking good. Like I said, their defense has actually been pretty good all season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unfortunately the offense wasn't giving them any help.
Yep.
But congrats on the Jaguars on the AFC South title.
Yep. Congratulations to them.
Up next, we are moving on to Sunday. In a game that the Bucks should have won and would have probably have helped them in a way, but luckily they're still in it. Buccaneers, Falcons. Falcons gained the win over the Bucks.
This was Tom Brady's first losing season, I think, of his career.
Correct.
Also, this was a big upsetting defeat to the Buccaneers. They were up 17-10 in the halftime, and it honestly looked like they were going to be the team to win it. And then the Falcons came on top, scoring 20 unanswered points in the second half. I think Ritter out there trying to prove that he is looking to be the starter next year, which could be the case. Honestly, a matchup that was kind of very put under the rug due to the implications of the other games that we're playing on. But good performance by the Falcons to end on top with the victory. Unfortunately, you were a game late from competing because this could have been an NFC South title game, but unfortunately you got knocked out I think a week ago. And for the Buccaneers, they got to figure something out for this next week. They have a very tough opponent in their first round of the playoffs, and games like this is not going to help them. I do see the Buccaneers getting knocked out very early on.
I just want to point out right now, because I've been paying a bit more bit of attention now to the Falcons lately since Riddler's taken over. He's actually been doing pretty good. Also, Alginer?
I have no clue how to pronounce it.
I think it's Alginer. Has been tearing it up for him lately, especially with Cordell Patterson that was out for the first part of the season. And then London, too, has been doing great. So I think this Falcon team next year is going to look a lot better with the way how they ended this year.
They could very well potentially be a lot better going into next year.
Yeah, we'll see what they do, especially with the Marcus Mariota situation. But it sounds like he just completely gave up on the team, and he's going to be out of there.
Yeah.
Up next, a must win for the Bills to help them actually not get unfortunately, the number one seed, but to actually hold on to the second seed in the AFC, and a must win game for them as they got it over the Patriots, and also for the first time since I think they said 2006, getting 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown. Has not been done since 2003 with the Seattle Seahawks, Leon Washington.
Oh no, that was 2006. I was saying the last time the Bills had an opening kickoff for a touchdown, or had a kickoff return for a touchdown, was 3 years and 3 months ago. Starting out the game with the 96-yard touchdown. As you heard a lot of the announcers, the very storybook after the game, which was officially canceled, the Bengals and the Bills game on Monday night. The Bills coming out, playing with a lot of emotion, and all the NFL doing something tribute to Damar Hamlin. There's a couple cases where I know a lot of people were doing moments of silence. The Broncos-Chargers game, Derwin James and Russell Wilson, who are both wearing number 3 for their teams, came out and did a prayer together in the center of the field. So a lot of love for Damar Hamlin, and there was a lot of emotion in this game for him. It was kind of back and forth for a little bit, and then the Bills just kind of turned it around. The Patriots, really disappointing season this year. I think, as I said before, they did not deserve to make the playoffs. They need to figure out what's going to happen next year. Mac Jones had a very struggling year with not having an official offensive coordinator. They rotate a lot of people and everything like that. So we'll see how the Patriots bounce back. Bill Belichick knows how to build a staff, so it's a matter about building the correct staff. The team is not terrible, but it performed very poorly. But the Bills coming on top. Again, like Kelly said, maintaining that second seed, so they'll at least have one, if not two, playoff home games.
Also, those for you who haven't been keeping up, Damar Hamlin, he is awake. He actually just got discharged here yesterday, I believe, or today. So that is good news. Good for him. Whether he's going to return back to the NFL is up in the air right now after what just happened. So, but we're just happy that he's alive, that he's breathing, communicating, and all that stuff, and he's back home with his family right now, where he needs to be, and rooting for his Bills teammates right now.
Yep.
So, one thing I also want to throw out there real quick about is what I really appreciate what the NFL teams did was on, I believe, everybody's field that did this. They outlined their 30-yard line, the number 3 in blue. I thought that was very special.
But not only that, but every coach was wearing a shirt in memory of Damar Hamlin. Just the amount of love passed around through the NFL for something like this, because again, this shows that incidents like this are bigger than the game itself. So for everyone to stand in support of this young man and his dream, and everyone and their prayers and love towards him really has helped him with this recovery. And we continue to wish him the very best. And it's hard to say if he'll ever come back to playing football. That's something, that kind of thing is very serious, because permanent damage to the lung and heart, it could force him to retire.
Yep.
Unfortunately, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Moving on to the next game, we have the Vikings at the Bears. Not a game that we kind of expected it was going to be. The Bears will be securing the number 1 draft pick this year with this loss, and this does help the Vikings going into the playoffs. However, it's not really settling, because Dalvin Cook actually did not play very well. And again, a person that's been very absent the last couple of weeks has been Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins has not been able to get to him, so that can play in a huge role, knowing that he is their number 1 receiver. And other people will have to step up, because their opponent will be targeting Justin Jefferson. He will try to get him the ball, but again, we'll see. This game didn't really show me a whole lot, except for the Vikings can beat a very shitty team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm very happy that the Vikings won the North there, NFC North. I'm glad that they did that. But right now, the way that they've been playing, especially like the last 5 games here this season, it's just not showing me very much hope for them in the playoffs. I would be surprised, actually, if they get through the first round.
I gotta remember who they're playing,
But if they do get through the first round, I don't think they'll get through this.
Yeah.
Up next, we have the Ravens at the Bengals. Not much, I don't think, riding on this. Actually, there is some riding on this team. Bengals needing to win, because they could actually bump up to the 2nd seed, I believe, if the Bills would have lost.
Yep.
But unfortunately, Bills won, and so Bengals are stuck with the 3 seed. Ravens, I don't know if they would have had any change in their playoff seed, but they are still missing.
They would have been the 5th seed.
Oh, okay. They would have been the 5th seed?
They would have been the 5th seed.
They would have been the 4th seed?
5th.
They're not leading. Oh, that's right. They're all in the same. They're both in the same division.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, wait a minute, what?
5th.
Yeah.
5th.
Yeah, I got you. My bad. But anyway, unfortunately, Ravens not getting that. What do you think of Baltimore's chances going into the playoffs now? Especially if even if Lamar comes back?
No chance. No chance. You're expecting Lamar to carry this team. It's not going to happen. He will get shut down.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially hasn't played for 4 weeks now?
Yeah, and the first round they have the Bengals again.
And yeah, they have the Bengals again.
So, it's not looking pretty.
It's not. Up next, game that really didn't mean a whole lot except for pretty much draft order. Mm-hmm. Texans and Colts. Texans getting the win here at the end of the game. Good for them. Like we said many times, Texans kind of underrated this year. Could have probably done a lot better. But happy for them to end their bad season, on a high note. The Colts, since Jeff Saturday's been taking over, besides the first win, have just done shit.
Well, it's like I told you before. There's nothing that could have saved this team. This team was garbage. This team was absolute garbage this year. Very poor performances. They, without having, Jonathan Taylor a lot of the year, they have issues with quarterbacks. I mean, it was bad from the get go. The Texans getting 2 straight wins in the last 2 weeks. I mean, it is what it is. A game that was really just nothing. So.
Right. Exactly. So next year, see what happens with both these teams going into next year. I'm pretty sure these guys are going to be making some moves for some picks and also see what they can pick up in free agency. Next up, divisional game. Jets must win in order to get in and need some help. Dolphins must win. And that's right, Jets got eliminated last week.
Yeah.
They got eliminated last week. But Dolphins need to win in order to stay in.
Yep.
Very shitty game. Very bad game.
I mean,
from what I watched.
The shitty part about this is that this was set up for between the matchups. So the matchups that were on the line for teams to get in were the Patriots, Bills, the Browns, Steelers, and the Jets and the Dolphins. And unfortunately for all those teams, with how it all panned out, the team that was going to get in was the Dolphins. Though the Steelers won and everything like that, but they had to turn their season around. And the Dolphins, who had a great season early in the year, unfortunately still had the luck of the draw. And this was a very bad game. This was horrible. And there's no clue how the Dolphins will do in the playoffs. I don't know if Tua's coming back. But literally this game was just so bad. It ended 11-6. Like, it was field goals after field goals. It was not even worth to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's any Dolphins or Jets fans that even wanted to watch this game. It was terrible. No touchdowns, which is a thing that happens, but it was terrible.
Yeah. I mean, nothing more we can really say about that.
Yeah.
Moving on, divisional game here going up. Still something that doesn't mean a whole lot in there for these guys for playoffs. Panthers getting the win over the Saints. 2 teams that have struggled all season. They had chances. They had chances to take that division.
Well, this really showed me that Sam Darnold should be looked at more as a starting quarterback next year for the Panthers. He's actually, since he's been in, has led him to almost a division title and a playoff spot. It was, in a very crappy division. He actually did fairly well. So, again, a really bad game to watch. 10-7, not high scoring, and we'll have to see what both these teams do next year.
Exactly, Ryan. Jets, Browns trying to play spoilers to the Steelers, but Steelers were able to actually bounce back, make some plays, get that W, and also keep Mike Tomlin's perfect record of staying about 500.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin not having a losing record at all in his coaching career, which is a huge accomplishment. He's done very well. And the team is actually in the right direction going into next year, I think, with looking at Pickett as their starting quarterback for the future, and their defense. Again, just the biggest thing is having TJ Watt there. And so with him being there, healthy, it really kind of solidifies that team. They'll get Minka Fitzpatrick back from injury and everything like that. The team is honestly looking good for the future. Tomlin has proven that he's still a Hall of Fame coach. The Browns have a lot to work on in the direction they need to go with. Maybe they'll turn it around next year with the Deshaun Watson for the full season. But we'll see.
As long as nothing comes up against Watson, right? All of a sudden, Up next, and I did not know how close this game was until this guy texted me from work telling me, what the hell is Russell Wilson doing here winning this game?
I mean, come on now.
So, very tight game. Guys, both teams going at it here right to the end. Broncos, sadly, getting the W here at the end, which, as bad as they played all season, Russell Wilson has a pretty decent game. Definitely the rushing game was their bread and butter of the whole game, but yeah, this was kind of not giving me very much faith that the Chargers should win this game, and now going to the playoffs does not give me much faith in them.
Well, the Broncos wanted to end on a good note after the bad year. Russell Wilson actually having a pretty good game. So is Judy at receiver. The Broncos could turn around next year. It could just be a really bad year this year. But we'll see. And yeah, with the Chargers, kind of sums up the whole year where yes, they got into the playoffs, but they're not ready to be there yet.
There's definitely some improvements that still need to be made. Yeah, their record says 10-7. Yes, they're going to the playoffs, but there's still some areas that need to be worked on.
Yeah.
Divisional matchup, Giants-Eagles. Jalen Hurts, first game back since getting injured. Has a pretty decent game, unfortunately, through one interception. I really can't say much besides,
Well, this was an implication game because this was for the Eagles to actually win and get first place and actually solidify the NFC East title because that was not actually official yet. So this was something for the Eagles. Nice to have Jalen Hurts back and to get him healthy, to get him kind of going. And you and I talked about that last week, that he needed to get in to kind of get the motive going, or else he would have been out for 3 weeks. Want to play for another couple weeks. So the Giants, I do have faith in the Giants going into the playoffs in their first round matchup. They're not a bad team. They obviously took it to this team, coming back with 13 points in the fourth quarter to make it a 6-point game. But we'll see what happens. Everything can change, but overall, pretty good battle. Not what you expected, but it was a good bounce back for the Eagles after 2 straight losses.
Exactly. Like you said, Hurts need to get one game in, especially with the first round bye. If they were able to clinch that, give them an extra, time to rest up, but still get in, still keep fresh.
Yeah.
And then this way that helps them prepare for whoever they face in the second round.
Yep.
Giants, like you said, I think if they can continue, especially with Barkley, if he can still keep his motor running, I think he's going to be the key to them if they can actually get a win.
Yep.
In their game. Next game up, we have the Cardinals at the Niners. Niners, like Ryan was saying, honestly, if the Eagles would have lost this game, I think the Niners could have taken that first place game. So this was a big game for them, as they actually had everybody there for their team playing. Cardinals, the only thing they have going for them was J.J. Watt's retirement, pretty much.
Well, what a send-off for J.J. Watt. I mean, he went out as a true legend that he is. Unfortunately, with the loss, it's kind of unfortunately sums up his career where he's a Hall of Famer on some really bad teams. And not saying that he's a Hall of Fame, not to describe him like that, but it's an unfortunate end to his Hall of Fame career. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Again, J.J. Watt, thank you for the many great years. This was an all-around win, though, for the 49ers. As you see, Elijah Mitchell actually had 2 touchdown runs. Purdy is really developing up in his own. I know the big talk is Garoppolo could be back, but then the question mark is, do you put him in or do you roll with Brock Purdy, who has been really good these last few, they're on a 5-game win streak and everything like that. And I think it's 5. It could be more, actually. But anyways, it was the first game back for Deebo Samuel, who had a pretty decent start. Obviously, didn't want to push him too much and everything like that. And then George Kittle, actually, since Brock Purdy's been quarterback, has actually produced really big numbers. And I think in the last few games, he's had at least 5 touchdowns. So that's saying a lot for his performance is developing. There's someone that actually trusts him. And it's not just those guys, but Christian's playing well. The defense is still just amazing. So it's a much-needed win. The Niners do secure the number 2 seed going into the playoffs.
Good for them. Up next, a must-win game for the Seahawks in order to even make the playoffs, but they need help. But first, we're going to talk about this game, and I've said this many, many times. It does not matter what the record of the Rams are. They could be 0 and whatever, come in and still put a whooping on the Seahawks, and that's almost what they did here in this game again, where they were trying to play upset Seahawks playoff hopes. They almost did. They should have actually at times should have put this game away and got the W for them, but Seahawks unluckily were able to go into overtime and get the game-winning field goal.
Well, luck was on their side on multiple occasions because even Quandre Diggs' interception, if he didn't time that right, that was ball game. And that was a play where it wasn't underthrow because the receiver was behind the ball, but Quandre made a jump on it and caught it over his shoulder. And had he mistimed that at all, that's ball game. There were a lot of questionable calls too on here. There was actually 2 missed unsportsmanlike calls that should have been called on Seattle. One of them was the hit on Geno Smith with Jalen Ramsey. DK actually put his hand on through Jalen Ramsey's face and pushed it. So that actually is a penalty that should have been called, regardless of the controversial call about that hit and everything like that. The DK should have got flagged for that, and then Quandre should have actually got flagged on that interception because he taunted at Bobby Wagner, who was on the sideline. So a lot of stuff right there. Yes, it was a great win for Seattle, and I'm very happy and everything like that. However, Seattle's got to clean up a lot of this. They're getting away with a lot of stuff right now that they should not be.
Watching this game, actually, there was a lot of penalties that should have happened. Mm-hmm. That even the broadcasters were like, "Where's the call?
Yeah,
where's the call?" And there were even times that they had Dean Blandino on there too, and he was the same way. It's like they should have threw the flag on that. Why are they not following the flag on that? So obviously, controversy in this game as to yes, why were some penalties not called? They just weren't. It seemed like the refs just let them play.
Yeah, but that's got to stop because.
But when you have this incident like with DK and Ramsey going on, you got to start.
You got to stop. Like that kind of stuff is, though is like that was such a crucial thing. And yes, and again, I'm a diehard Hawks fan, but I also want to be fair and everything like that. That would have offset the penalty on Jalen Ramsey, which again didn't really matter because Jason Myers actually missed the field goal. But it was kind of one of those things where it's like the hit itself was okay. He was pushed out of bounds. Geno ran out of bounds, and they ran into each other. Yes, however, Jalen did drop his shoulder. He did kind of brace, but it did seem like he put a little more oomph into it. Again, DK should have got called, especially for the back and forth that they have had, not just in that game, but through their own history. That's one thing with DK Metcalf is that he's starting to get more control of his emotions, but every time he plays Jalen Ramsey, it becomes something bigger.
Yeah. And
he goes back to the old DK. I'll say this, though, I think the MVP of this game is not Geno, it's not really anybody, it's not even Quandre, it's Kenneth Walker. Because if we don't have Walker in his performance, he doesn't do well. Also, Tyler Lockett being the first Seahawks since Steve Largent to have 3 straight 1,000-yard years in receiving, proving that he's one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL.
Exactly. And going back to what you were saying about DK and Ramsey, these two, they headbutt every time they play, but it's funny because after the game, camera showed these two talking to each other after the game, actually hugged it out, talking. It's like, okay, so,
they bring out the best in each other.
I think it's that thing, yeah, when it's game time, they're doing everything they can for their team, but then after the game, it's mutual respect.
Yes, but the problem with both of them is that they hurt their teams more than anything.
Exactly.
So it's one thing to jaw and everything like that, but it's another to do the level that they both do. Okay, yeah, you show and you bring out the best in each other, but you both are screwing your team over.
Exactly. Especially, Pete Carroll again has to pull DK aside, especially when that altercation nearly happened. He has to pull him away and talk to him again. It's getting to the point now where Carroll shouldn't have to do this anymore to him.
No one should.
No one should. This guy's been in the league long enough. He should know it's actually going to probably be his downfall here eventually if he ever goes off again, that he's probably going to be out.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing, is that it truly does hurt him. Hurts him a lot.
Exactly.
Going on to the next game, with implication of the NFC East actually on the line, really not to be worthy because Washington beating Dallas 26-6, ending on a good note for Washington, who's had an up and down year. I would like to see what they do next year. But kind of a bad performance on the Cowboys going into playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised when I looked over and I saw, 20-6 at one point, and I was like, what the hell? I mean, I even looked over and I saw Dallas moving the ball, and I was like, okay, I thought they couldn't never happen. I was just like, man, you guys are falling apart right now at a bad time. You have a chance to possibly, if the Eagles lost, take that number 1 seed, or at least get the number 2 seed. Or whatever seed, 1 through 3, one of those ones. I don't know how it would have went out.
For some reason, they did say that if Dallas took the beat or won, they actually might have been the number 1 seed.
Yeah, there was something
which I didn't understand.
Yeah,
but a lot of that has to play off of conference play and everything like that, which is a whole different story.
But anyway, like Ryan said, it didn't happen, so they are stuck with the number 5 seed.
5,
correct.
Number 1 through. So for anyone that doesn't know about records and everything like that, when it comes to playoffs, when it comes to the NFL, it's different than the say the NBA. The NBA has a 1 through 8 seed, so it's not based on division winners. It's all based on your record. The NFL, the first 4 seeds are the 4 division winners based on their record, and then the 5th, 6th, and 7th seed are wild card teams based on record. So I know a lot of controversy has been about the AFC South Jaguars. Why are they in a 4th seed, have a home field game over, and they're at 9-8 over Baltimore and the Chargers? It's because they're division winners. And the same with the Buccaneers. The Cowboys should be in the top 4 seeds, but unfortunately, they're in the same division as the Eagles. So that kind of, for anyone that's new to NFL playoffs or something like that, that's an explanation. Very similar to the Major League Baseball. Top 3 seeds will always be the 3 division winners, and then the wild card teams will be the 3 wild card teams will be whoever is based on record.
I know there's been a lot of talk over the years for the NFL to change it up to where it actually is by record. I don't know. They've done it this way for so long.
I say keep it the same because there's so many teams and there's 8 divisions that if you win your division, you should have a right to be in the playoffs first and foremost. And I say keep it the same because then you start playing this game of the system of like you get into really fine details of why this team is ahead of this one if the records are the same. Kind of like with the Packers and the Seahawks. So the Packers would have won, they would have made the playoffs, even though the Seattle Seahawks were always ahead of them all year. But it came to conference play and this, that, and the other. And I say keep it the same because it's less complicated to deal with.
Yeah.
And they already have the problem with the NFL is every year they're changing rules, they're changing, this, that, and the other. Just go.
All right, guys, wrapping up now with our final game that pretty much decided the fate of who was getting the 7th seed. I sadly fell asleep during this game, so I can't really tell you all what happened.
Okay, don't hype it up and then just say you fell asleep.
I'm sorry that I did.
You hyped it up. And
I'm being real. I'm being real.
Yeah, but don't let me hype it up next time. Don't hype it up like decided the fate, but I fell asleep.
It wasn't because it was boring or anything like that. I was just really tired.
I'm just saying.
Oh,
you lined them all up just to.
Oh well.
You
It's
gotta
what it
work on
is.
that. You gotta work on that.
I got to work on a lot of stuff, and so do you too. So it all works out.
Oh,
Anyways, I can do an intro too. You just shut me down every time I do one. So, anyways, guys, I do it right. I do it differently. Okay, I try to change it up too. So, anyway, guys, in a must-win game for the Packers to get in. Unfortunately, the Lions, who have been on a hot streak lately, come back and pull up the upset and help send the Seahawks to playoffs.
This was a really good game. It was back and forth, obviously not scoring. There were a lot of things that kind of played in this game. One, I know, really big one was Quay Walker getting thrown out of the game in the fourth quarter with his push on the trainer and of Detroit. It was a dumb. I mean, there should have been actually another player. Wyatt should have been also thrown out of the game because he didn't deliberately push, but he did kind of the shoulder check into them very subtly, and it's one of those things where like these guys need to know better, and unfortunately too, you see that if players are acting like this, Matt LaFleur kind of doesn't have the respect from his players to do something like this, and that was something that you've seen him very frustrated with his team as they're getting called for and getting kicked out, is playing smart, and then the whole drama with Aaron Rodgers. But a great win by the Detroit Lions. Definitely coming out in interviews, players and team and coaches talking about how, though they knew that going into this game they were already eliminated, which they understood, and they understood like it just is what it is. But their biggest mindset was to not have the Packers go to the playoffs. And regardless of who would have been in the playoffs, whether the Seahawks or any other team, they just did not want the Packers to go. And honestly, from starting 1-6 to now ending 9-8, so you went on an 8-2 streak to finish the season. So amazing job, Jamal Williams ending with 16 rushing touchdowns, tied for the most in a single career or single season in Lions history with Barry Sanders. So that's a very, very cool thing. Very great game. And honestly, I think this saves Dan Campbell's job. I don't think he gets fired. If this was a continuation of 1-6, he would have been gone. And it also kind of helps Jared Goff going into next year.
Yeah, especially a lot of people had actually written Jared Goff off, such as fallout with the Rams, and then not even doing good his first season over with Detroit as well. But that whole team turned it around.
They did.
Like you said, I'm even kind of for this. Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year.
He has a spot.
I think he's definitely a nomination.
He's a nomination for sure.
Oh,
he's a nomination.
Yeah, I don't know who else you really want to throw out there. Maybe Doug Peterson. Maybe who's the coach of Philly?
Well, they'll have Coach of the Years for both AFC and NFC. I don't think they do one for the whole NFL. There's obviously the MVP and everything like that.
Right.
Chiefs, it's easy to say Andy Reid. If I had to pick one from the AFC, I would say Peterson. Because of the fact that he came back and win. Followed by Sean McDermott. For the NFC, Dan Campbell is my number one choice, followed by Pete Carroll. Because again, the Hawks were supposed to be very, very, very bad. So I think it's that Barricade.
Oh, okay. I was like...
show. It sounded like The Mist for some reason. But Pete Carroll, I think, deserves it because him and Dan Campbell. I don't look at Coach of the Year as the teams that have been winning all year. Because, yeah, I could also say Shanahan from the Niners. But I kind of expected the Niners to be in the playoffs and everything like that. But the Hawks and the Lions were two teams that were in the beginning of the year were written off.
Yeah.
And not even beginning of the year. I'm talking before we even played a down of football, even the preseason. they were written
Yeah.
off.
I even, at the beginning of the year, I put the 49ers in last place in the division. I didn't think they were going to do that good, honestly, and now look at them now.
I think I did
man.
say that they were a playoff team. I actually did think that they were going to finish second. I thought the Rams would have been better. I did say that the Niners were a playoff team.
Yeah.
Because I did say that Garoppolo would get in at some point over Lance.
That's what I believe I said too. I said with Lance, I don't think they're going to make it. If they go back to Garoppolo, then they have a better chance.
Yeah.
Well, we all saw what just happened with two of those guys, and this guy called Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy comes in and just leads this team.
Oh, exactly. So that sums up the week 18. So now we'll go into the playoff schedule, which we're just going to go week by week. We're not going to do all the bracketology and everything like that because that's just too... There's a lot of ins and outs because it's all about seeding and everything like that. So the first game we have on Saturday. We have 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and randomly we have Monday.
Yeah. So. We still have to have our Sunday, Monday night games.
Apparently.
Playoffs.
Apparently. So first game will be Seattle at San Francisco. This is the number 7 Seattle Seahawks traveling to the number 2 seed San Francisco 49ers.
Honestly, like I've said many times, I love my Hawks and everything, but I think this is as far as we're going to go. I think San Francisco has been dominated all season. San Francisco is going to get this win.
I have a very strong feeling San Francisco will win. For the love of my Hawks, though, I will pick you because I think the thing about the Hawks is that you are one of the more dangerous teams because you never know what Hawks team is going to show up. So I'm going to pick Seattle for my own conscious feeling that I don't want to... Because I really have grown to become a San Francisco 49er fan. And my sister, shout out to my sister, she's very happy about that because she's a diehard Niners fan. And if San Francisco beats Seattle, I will root for San Francisco the rest of the playoffs going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But for my own... And I truly believe that Seattle could beat San Francisco. So I'm going to pick Seattle. I probably know I'm wrong.
Honestly, it's a win-win for me because me being born into a San Francisco family, it's like, okay, it still helps. I'll be happy that they win because, it's our family team.
Yeah.
It's been our family team for freaking 40 years or however long.
Well, that's the same with me. It's like it's a win-win for me. It's my Hawks and my number 1 team, the Hawks, or it's my number 2 team, the Niners. So whoever wins, I'm okay with. I'll be sad if one of them loses, mostly Seattle, because obviously I'd never like seeing Seattle lose. But let's be real.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, realism, I'm going to pick Seattle, but I know for a fact it's probably going to be San Francisco.
Yeah.
Because it's also in San Francisco.
It's also, yeah. Plus, they're probably going to have a lot of people back, as well. Especially Debo is going to be back.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, I don't think Garoppolo is going to be back.
He could be back. I don't think they're going to play him, though, because the way Purdy runs the team. Yeah. And the team doesn't want to give up on Purdy.
I think, like what we've talked about, too, roll with the hot hand.
Yeah.
Roll with the hot hand right now.
Yep.
All right, let us know what you guys pick. Next, we have the Chargers at the Jags.
I am going to pick Jacksonville based on the defense.
I kind of gotta go with Jacksonville too. I feel like they have a better chance.
I don't believe in Los Angeles. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up winning because on paper the Chargers are better than the Jags, but I trust Jacksonville's defense over Los Angeles.
Yeah, especially at times that Herbert's been struggling this year too.
Yep.
Tough defenses as well. It's gonna hurt him.
Yep.
Sunday's matchups: Miami at Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I've been picking them all year. Why should I stop now? Buffalo.
What? Whether Tua is back or whatnot, it's Buffalo.
We have Giants at Minnesota. I'm actually going to go with the Giants on this.
I'm going to go with the Giants because I trust their team more than I trust Minnesota.
Yeah, they're Minnesota, like I said, even though, 12-4?
12 and 5.
12-5, they've just been so inconsistent.
Oh, no, they're 13-4. They're 13-4.
They're 12. $13-4. Okay. Anyway, yep. Giants.
Yep.
And the last game.
Cincy.
Yep. I mean, I'm sorry, Baltimore. You just been. You're lucky, I think, even be in there because Lamar helped you at the beginning of the year.
Cincy, Buffalo, or Kansas City are the teams that are going to come out to the Super Bowl and the AFC.
Exactly.
It's going to be one of those three teams.
And our Monday night game, Dallas at Tampa Bay. Especially after Dallas's bad loss.
I'm going to go Tampa because we are going to get, for at least this week, playoff Brady.
I think that's what I got rolled with too, because Brady and playoffs. That's kind of what I'm leaning toward too.
I don't have faith in either one of these teams because, honestly, to me, it based on they're both quarterbacks. Brady has not been playing well, and nor has Dak. And Pollard's been battling injuries. I'm gonna go with the home team and just pick Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'll be the same as well. All right, so that is it for our first week of Wildcard, guys. Let us please know what you are picking for yours. Do we want to do coaches news here before our picks, or do you want to do it after?
Couple new incidents occurred. Two coaches were let go today. Kind of expecting, at least for one of them. I thought they may have given Lovie Smith another chance, but unfortunately, with the way that the season went, it's no surprise. Lovie Smith from the Houston Texans was fired today, or parted ways, excuse me, and the Arizona Cardinals fired Cliff Kingsbury, and their GM had stepped down. Not surprising with Cliff Kingsbury, especially with the way that how the last few years have went with him. Kind of underperforming, especially in the playoffs.
They were supposed to have high expectations for that team.
And then watching them on the sidelines this year, there was a lot of no control. I do, unfortunately, think the next coach, maybe not this year, but possibly next year, will be Matt LaFleur. Because, again, with the attitude of your players, especially dealing with this drama with Aaron Rodgers, you have Quay Rocker, who's gotten suspended a couple times this year and kicked out of the games. It's just he needs to have better control. So I think he'll be around next year. I could be wrong. He'll be fired very soon. But I think he's got one more year to figure it out. So
all right. But also we're probably going to see some more firings here or releases as we're going on too. But yeah. First two coaches have been, and of course, they always call Black Monday after the regular season's over.
I never heard that term, so.
That's what my dad always said. That they call it Black Monday after the regular season when they start the firings.
I mean, people come up with terminologies for everything, so I honestly, it could be a thing, but I never do. Yeah. Going into the draft order right now, so it is solidified up until pick 18, I believe it is. Yep. So we won't talk about every pick and everything like that. Obviously, the top 5 picks will be Chicago with the number 1 pick, followed by Houston, Arizona, Indianapolis, and Seattle. Getting the 5th pick, and actually the 5th and 6th picks, though it says Seattle and Detroit, even though they are playoff contenders and playoff teams, they got their trades. They got those picks due to Seattle getting it from the Denver trade with Russell Wilson, and the Lions getting that pick from the Rams from the Matthew Stafford from a year ago. Not going to get into full what the draft needs are and everything like that. However, I can almost see kind of the guideline of where this is going to be. And I don't think Chicago is going to take a quarterback with the number 1 pick. I think they're going to pick the defensive tackle out of Georgia. The next 3 picks, though, I could see being quarterbacks.
Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, probably definitely gonna have one of those 3 teams.
Yeah, I could see though. Bryce Young going. Either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud will go to Houston, and the other one will go to the Indianapolis. I think with the number 3 pick, they will go after Will Anderson, who is the edge rusher from Alabama. That leaves Seattle with a big question mark because it takes away some of their high prospects that they've been looking for. I think with this pick, they should look at possibly offensive linemen, if not someone on the top defense. I don't think there's a quarterback that they should look at for this pick. I know the census might have been Will Levis from Kentucky. very Josh Allen-like draft stock. However, he's been very underperforming. A kid that you might want to look at is the kid from Georgia. We'll talk about that in just a second. But we could see that happen. And Seattle is also very known to trade away picks. So we'll see what happens there. But this is the draft order as we see it, everything like that. So interesting to see what teams will go to. Like I said, this kind of tells me that a quarterback will not be drafted number 1 or number 2 or number 1 this year, like was always predicted, with Chicago now taking that number 1 pick.
Sorry about that, guys.
You're good. So, going into other world of sports, as we're done with the NFL, tonight was the national championship for college football. And before I show the score and everything like that, I want to give a little thing. It was TCU, Texas Christian University, versus Georgia, University of Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia being the reigning champions from last year, beating Alabama. Dominated all year, 14-0. They had a couple scares maybe this year, but overall they've really dominated. They did have a scare against Ohio State in the college football playoffs. Now, if you knew about the college football playoffs, there were 2 amazing games came down to the last wire. Tonight was not the case. Tonight, one team decided to play football, and the other team decided to not. And if you had watched this game like I did, this was an embarrassment to football. If you were rooting for TCU, I think you and I were split on this pick. I don't know who picked who. But
I went with Georgia just because.
Okay. I think I went with Georgia too, so I might have been wrong.
I know you wanted TCU to win it.
I wanted TCU to win it, but I did pick Georgia because I knew for a fact Georgia was going to win. However, I thought this would have been at most a 20-point victory, not a 59-point victory. Not a 58-point victory.
Not a raw dog here.
I mean, this was embarrassing from the start. And I don't know what you want to call it out of this. Georgia was just the best team, and they beat the living hell out of TCU. To the point where you really question, did TCU actually belong there? And Kelly brought up a good point. Michigan could have been. It should have been Michigan. However, would Michigan done any better?
We'll never know.
Probably not.
That's what I wanted to see.
Probably not.
That's what I wanted to see. Can Michigan, finally get all the way? Can they actually show that they are worthy of being that top team in college football? And when it comes to the big stage, can they perform?
Yeah, I'm going to still say no because I've always felt this whole year, Kelly can vouch, anyone that I talk college football can vouch, my pick to win it all this year has always been Georgia. Since them beating the living shit out of Oregon 49-3, I've said from then on Georgia was the team to win it all. There was no question.
Yeah, especially with Alabama this year, taking a bit of a downhill.
Oh yeah, Alabama. I don't know if they played each other this year, but Georgia would have whooped the shit out of them. Like this Georgia team is, especially their defense, were studs. Like it was a well brought up team, and
I would not be surprised if we see some of these players being first round draft picks.
Well, that was the thing is last year when they won the national championship, they sent 5 defensive starters in the first round. This right now, you're going to see more, I think, including the quarterback if he goes out to the draft. And he's had a actually tremendous story. He was he had no scholarship offers. He went to junior college, played football there. Then he came in as a walk-on, I believe, to Georgia, and 2 years, 2 national champions. It's a tremendous story. And I have no problem with Georgia winning it because, again, I do like Georgia. I do think they're good.
I'd rather see them than Bama.
Yeah, but also, too, man, this was just not a game for... I had talked to my dad, and we had talked, and I talked to a lot of people. My dad, a couple buddies of mine, I asked them if they watched this game. I seem to have been the only one to actually watch it from start to finish, everyone stopped at halftime. It was 38-7 at halftime, just to give everyone a point. But and a lot of people could have said, "Oh, you could have came back in this game." No, the way you watched it, it was the backups came in early in the fourth quarter and still put up points on the first string of TCU, and their backup defense still got to Max Duggar, and this was the runner-up to the Heisman. Just throwing it out there. All a joke. Great for Georgia, though. Happy for Georgia. Going into some other sports news, we have the Kraken winning today 4-0 over the Canadians. This is the Kraken's fourth straight win, I believe.
Correct.
Just lights. They've been playing lights out as of lately. Sitting at 23-12-4 in their record, and we can show. Okay, they do it backwards.
Yeah, they do it. Yeah.
So since the beginning of the year, and the Islander game that I went to, they have been on a 5-game winning streak now, actually, and the closest game was a couple 3-point wins, which kind of shows how this team is actually performing. They are in there really close with, as you see here, the Kings for almost taking that spot. The Kings have one more win. Just like we both have been watching the Kraken lately a lot this year, especially alone. What are your thoughts on the Kraken this year? Like, what's your thinking?
So, obviously, as I said before, and yes, we are in our second year. Yes, we are actually doing better than I expected. At this point, we're doing better than I expected. I hope we can continue this momentum going forward. As I actually had pointed out to Ryan, if you actually look at the amount of goals that we're scoring lately, we're almost averaging at least 4 to 5 goals a game, which is great for any hockey team in my opinion, just from watching a little bit I have these last couple of years. Because hockey is like baseball sometimes. It's a low-scoring game, and they're always close. So seeing us, always getting 4 goals is great. Because, that just shows, how great your team is, how well they're working together against not just, weaker teams, but also the stronger teams as well out there. I believe I also brought this up, are they gonna make the playoffs this year? I think there is actually a good chance that they'll make it this year.
There's a very good chance they'll make it this year. Like I said, have been watching hockey. And honestly, it's different when you watch on TV to actually being there. It's becoming one of my favorite sports to watch now because it's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of high intensity. There's not just hitting, but especially when they get down for the goals and like the fight for the goal and fight for the puck and everything like that. It becomes very entertaining. I am enjoying it. And this could be a first that we've never seen in Seattle, where in these years, and we'll add 2022 into this season and everything like that, but potentially we could, if the Kraken make it, we'll see the Mariners, the Hawks, and the Kraken all make the playoffs this year, which really, though the Kraken have been in, I don't remember the last time even when we had the Sonics, them making it to the playoffs as well as the other teams. There is a first for the Seattle sports this year, and that is first time in Seattle sports history, we are sending 3 rookies to the All-Star game. The first being Julio Rodriguez to the Major League Baseball All-Star game. Tariq Woolen has been announced as a starter for the Pro Bowl. And Matty Beniers, the top rookie and really the top player for the Kraken, has been announced as the lone Kraken in the All-Star game. It's really remarkable to watch. and it's really nice to see. Beginning the last year was kind of upsetting to a lot of fans because they thought they were going to be what Vegas was. However, Vegas kind of played the rules of the open cap salary and got a lot of players that were higher cap, so they had a good team going into the season. Where the Canucks didn't, or excuse me, the Kraken didn't have that leisure. So we actually had what you would expected, where a lot of people's third or fourth string guys.
Yeah.
But they have actually turned it around, and in watching them, again, I haven't really watched hockey except for a few times in the Stanley Cup, but this team plays like a team. Their flow, their passing, their everything they do. It's not focused on Matty Beniers. It's focused on the whole team. Matty's just kind of leading the way.
Yeah. I'm glad we did not end up like the Vegas last year, being a dominant team right out of the gate.
And losing the Stanley Cup.
And then, if we would have gotten that far, I think it would have put way too much expectation on us going into this year. And if we would have had like a big 360 turnaround this year, everybody would probably be like, "Oh, great."
Well, the funny part is so for a little history lesson for everyone that doesn't know, Vegas Golden Knights expansion team was a couple years ago, and they had such a great year. They really had a very dominant year. They were dominating the NHL. They made it all the way to the Stanley Cup and losing either 4-1 or 4-2 to the Capitals, which was Alexander Ovechkin's only Stanley Cup victory. And they have not been back to the Stanley Cup since then. They've been in the playoffs, but not the Stanley Cup. This, however, is better for Seattle because last year we were dead last in the NHL. If not, we were on the bottom. We were very below.
Yeah.
But this year they've really turned it around, and this is kind of nicer because we're building on something.
It's nice to see us in the top three. I mean, even all.
Well, just a winning record.
Having a winning record.
I mean, last year it was very rare that you saw a win happen. Now we're turning on these games, and they're leading almost the entire way. And they're also scoring at faster pace, too.
Yes.
I think it was this game, I think we had on the Senators Kraken game.
Yep.
And every few minutes, it seemed like the Kraken scored. There was another game that we watched, too, that was the same way. Oh, this game. This game. I didn't even think you put a damn goalie in the damn nets. Why would you put a goalie in there? At that point, it was 9-8. I think, actually, the funny part about the Kings game was the Kings actually switched out their goalies.
They did.
And we kept our one goalie in.
Yeah.
So, one gave up 4 goals, the other one gave up 5, and our poor guy gave up 8.
Yeah, right. Well, they split it with 2 goalies. Our one guy took the whole brunt.
Yeah, I know. But then again...
But as we've been watching hockey as well, goals can be so quick to be scored in this. Just from another team scoring their first goal to all of a sudden the other team right off the face-off has already scored the next goal. It can turn around quickly if you're not paying attention.
Well, not only that, but I have such a love and respect for this team because, the funny part is you watch this and you watch the game itself of hockey, and I think I now have a saying that the hardest position in sports history, in all sports, is a hockey goalie. Because you're
literally looking for
a puck that's this big, traveling at over 100 miles per hour, and you have to be your head has to be on a swivel while yelling at your defense about where to go and everything like that, and you're getting your ass kicked too when you're in goal. When the pucks hit you,
there's a reason those guys are bulked up.
In the Islander game, I saw the goalie actually take it off the neck. He took it. He still played the damn game.
The goalies, some do, some don't. There actually is a attachment to their goalie mask that they can wear that does help protect that area. Some guys like it, some guys don't.
But then again, this is still a 100-mile-per-hour puck, and it gets shot at him.
But I think most of the time, if you do look, especially these guys do bring their neck down in just to, help try to protect
They turtle
that.
themselves. They
turtle, yeah.
But and then like especially like if you're like the puck's on the ground or something like that, right? As a goalie, not only are you trying to cover it or scoot it out, now you have 3 or 4 guys with their sticks hacking at you while your teammates are also hacking away because they're trying to prevent that. So it's a brutal ass sport. Plus, it's the only sport that allows fighting. And I made a nice comment at the Islander game. It was actually really funny. Is we were watching the game, scoring goals. It was awesome. Like I said, I will go to Kraken games. Actually, hockey games in general. I actually want to go up to Abbotsford and go see the minor league team there. I want to see
the Everett Silvertips.
If ever make the time, love it. I've heard Canucks games are insane. Like the crowd are.
I hope to be going up to a Canucks game here soon.
Yeah. I will see before I go to that game. I will go to a Kraken Canucks game in Seattle. Go Kraken. Oh man, one of the things that I made a comment on was a joke at, and I actually talked to a very big hockey fan at the game. Was, man, it feels like NASCAR where you're almost waiting for a crash to happen. In hockey, you're almost waiting for a fight. He goes, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, goals. It's awesome when like goals and everything like that, but a lot of times you're waiting for a fight." And I want to fight. I want to see a fight. Fight night.
Also, on the other side, when I look at hockey too, the amount of players that interact with the fans as well. You'll see some fans lately, will trade candy bars that they have tagged with their signs for a stick, or challenge them to a rock paper scissors match and stuff like that. And I love stuff like that, players. I mean, even in the other sports too, like Stephon Diggs playing catch with guys.
JJ does it too.
JJ, baseball players like the outfielders are throwing to some kid on the outfield fence.
You see that a lot with like Mike Trout or Aaron Judge. He'll turn around like in between innings, and we'll go play catch with a kid or something like that.
Yeah, just I like that. See that in this sport as well.
One thing I've actually noticed about hockey, watching Kraken this year and everything like that, and like watching a variety. Because when I was sick with COVID last year, I told you this. So last year, I did because in my room I didn't have Fubo, so I had Hulu, so it played a lot of hockey games. I actually watched a lot of hockey when I was sick. Like I was dead, but Kelly would be out in the living room watching something. He turn it down. He'd hear hockey actually in my room, and he'd be like, "What the hell?" And
what?
I'm watching the Phoenix Coyotes because that was the only team.
It was like goal coming from the bedroom, like.
It was not the Coyotes. It was not the Coyotes, by the way. It was any team that they were playing. They were not that good. But one thing I love about hockey, it's a lot like baseball too. I love when sports go back to roots. So when we talked about this with the baseball, with them playing at the Field of Dreams field, and then going to the Little League World Series playing there, hockey does the same thing as we talked about with the Winter Classic, which is an outdoor hockey game. And it's so amazing because that brings roots to them, where it's like going out to frozen ponds and playing and everything like that.
Yep.
But I will say this though, I do agree with you, and I think this sport does it better than anybody else. This sport has the more fan interaction than any other sport. You see it all the time. Like there will be kids right at the entryway when they go into their locker room for intermissions. They're fist bumping, high fiving. Kids are getting sticks, pucks, something. There's a lot of interaction. And not saying not every sport does it, but you don't see it as much with every other sport, especially in the major sports of football and basketball. There's some, but not a whole lot. Hockey does it, I think, the most. Which is really cool. Which is kind of getting me again more to love hockey, where they love their fans. They love the people that come out and watch and support them.
Yeah. I think, especially if they treat them too. I think seeing them, how well they'll treat them. Either, it's giveaway stuff for ticket holders, or people coming out and shooting T-shirts, giving away, stuff as well. Also, just the experience of being in there and what these rings help provide for everybody to give them a great view of the game and experience. It's just, I really, like I said, Ryan's got to go to a game. I've been in our hockey arena, but unfortunately not for a hockey game, and I so badly want to see one now just to have this experience because I've heard from him, my sister and her boyfriend went. I've heard other friends that they went. They've had a great time, highly recommended, and now it's just got me itching so bad to go.
Oh yeah. Like I said, if I had to pick today to go to a Hawks game, a Kraken game, or a Mariners game, which funny, I actually have a voucher to go to a Mariners game this year. I will go to Kraken. Because not only that though, but in between the hockey is 3 periods long, and they have 2 intermissions that are pretty much half times.
Yeah.
They do entertainment for the fans. So like when we went, there was a house band, so they played music. There was competition. Actually, it was really funny. I didn't tell you this. So they had a competition where this girl went down and she shot a puck into the goal, and it was for she had 3 shots. There was a jersey on the line.
Half in the middle of the ring or the other side.
So she started out in the half of the started in the middle of the ring. Then she moved up, and she guess the funny part is she actually sat right in front of me, and because when she was on the screen, I'm like, wait, she looks familiar. And I'm looking at my buddies that were with, and they're like, oh my god, she did look familiar. She comes running in, and we're like, hey, you're on TV! And she started laughing. We just had a fun time with that. Also, I felt bad for her. She was sitting next to some really irritated New York fans, but that's New York. No, but the one thing about hockey is that they entertain the fan. Not just the sport, but they make sure, like, in the intermissions, you're entertained,
Yeah. I'm glad.
It's not like, with baseball, though, it's a little hard because you're going inning by inning by inning.
Yeah.
And there's the 7-inning stretch, so that was entertaining.
Football has their halftime, but it's, only 15-minute long deal, but it's mostly just the cheerleaders going out and doing a routine.
You know the one thing I don't miss about going to a football game? Is that you don't mind it here because your mind's off of other things. It's how many damn timeouts there are for TV timeouts.
Yes.
We'd be in the middle of the drive and all of a sudden TV timeout.
Well, it's just after a kickoff.
Yeah, after kickoffs.
You just started the game, kickoff. All right, we're going to TV timeout. We just started the game.
Yeah, change of position, TV timeout. There were so many damn TV timeouts. I'm like, I'm going to lose my damn mind. Basketball is kind of the same way. What's really funny is if anyone ever goes to live wrestling events, and Kelly experiences too, they randomly do TV timeouts. If you have the chance, don't look at the jumbo screen that plays something. Look at the wrestlers in the ring. They will crack you up.
Oh, yeah. They just, they'll be standing outside the ring, and I'm like, you're not even getting counted out. I mean, the match is going.
The match is literally going. They just put a timeout on it. I've seen wrestlers when I went to Raw, because I went to a pay-per-view, which obviously there's no breaks there, so you watched everything. But I went to Monday Night Raw right afterwards, the next day. And yeah, in the middle of the match, they do a match, and then someone would hit a big move, and oh my god, the wrestlers would be at the corners or one wrestler would just be laying there for the entire duration. You're like, pin him! Right. 1, 2, 3! What we get out of here, ref? That's the thing. Kelly got to experience SmackDown live. I think it was your very first.
Yeah, my very first ever live wrestling event, which, as I've said, I've been... actually, I don't know if I've actually said it on here, but when it comes to wrestling, WWE, WWF, SmackDown has always been my favorite show to watch since I first got into it. So I was actually very happy that my first live show was actually SmackDown.
I need to see 2 more things that I've hit the trifecta. I've been to 1 pay-per-view, 1 house show, and I've been to Monday Night Raw. I have not been to SmackDown or NXT. I would love to go. My big thing, though, is... so what's funny is I always have a thing of what you see, kind of superstition and like that. The one wrestler I have seen in every show that I've been to, Seth Rollins. Actually, no, Roman Reigns too.
I know you've seen Roman.
I forgot Roman was at. I've seen Roman. I've seen Roman and Seth, my 2 favorite wrestlers, in all 3 shows. I did, however, get to see, and it makes a lot of my wrestling fans so mad.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
I did get the chance to see in his final time in Seattle, The Undertaker, which wrestling events and sporting events is all pretty loud and everything like that. But when you have a legend that comes in, especially the way the Undertaker came in, it is something else.
When the lights go out and you hear the gong sound,
oh yeah,
people lose their shit.
Oh, everyone lost their shit. I lost my shit. And the first thing I thought it was, oh my god, the Undertaker. Oh my god. And the second part is, oh, my friend's gonna be so pissed. Shout out to my best friend Kid, who's got me into wrestling. That I feel bad for every time that I bring up that story to you. Like, well, I got to see the Undertaker. Well, he got to see John Cena, which is one of my favorite wrestlers. But it's the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Pedestal of wrestling. Cena's up there too. Don't get me wrong, but Undertaker's kind of.
I mean, Undertaker pretty much is on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
Yeah. So is Cena though. So is there. But before we get into more talk, speaking of wrestling, just to give you guys updates on some other shows coming up, we do have. We want to do a wrestling show coming into the first pay-per-view of the year, which will be the Royal Rumble towards the end of the month. We have a few trailers. I know we're going to have some trailer reviews coming up. We just have one that we're going to do very soon for the new Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer. That trailer was released today. We'll get that going. Movie reviews. I know we've talked about it a lot. We'll plan something out. A lot of it is just we don't have the time to go see a lot of movies. I went and seen Avatar. I don't know when Kelly's going to see it.
I honestly don't know with my schedule lately. There's times where I do have time I could go see it, but I have other stuff I'd rather get done. I know it's I know I could go see it, especially because there are days where I do take off. Here I'm watching 2 or 3 hours of the show here. It's like I could have went and saw this instead, but
yeah. It is what it is. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like it took me a long time to go see it as well, and I could see it anytime. There's other movies I can go see. However, it just plays in the timeline, and sometimes it's nice to just not leave the apartment and just stay at home and relax. Especially like Kelly's big on binge watching shows, and it's nice for him because like he works so much and has so much stuff going on that it's nice for him to like sit down and get caught up on a show.
Especially what's just happened with my family here recently. I've been trying to help them out as much as I can, and it's stuff that happened. Also, I'm actually going to bring this up, and I guess I'm kind of using this as an excuse of why I don't go. I'm so used to going to movies with somebody that to go by myself just seems so weird. Yes, I went and saw the Batman movie by myself, but even then, I felt weird sitting there with like literally no family member near me, like enjoy this with or whatever. So I think that's kind of the other reason too. That's gotta be. It's like usually I go with somebody. So
I mean, it is what it is, and that's a fair assessment. A lot of people do find it I guess the word would be uncomfortable.
I just don't think I just never have gone, except for like I said that one time. I've always gone with somebody to see a movie at the theater.
I'm a little different. I am very much a person that will do things on his own. I don't know why. It's just one of those things where it's like I'm okay with it. At first, it was uncomfortable.
You have the chance to do it, and do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also there are a lot of times where I do things on my own. So yeah, I'm very prone to just do a lot of things on my own.
Yeah.
So we'll get one soon. It may be just me doing a review of Avatar 2 and Wakanda Forever. I know I will be doing one for Ant-Man Quantumania because there's nothing stopping me from seeing that movie. Obviously, there's a lot of things that stop me from the movie, but there's not really a lot of things that are going to stop me from seeing the movie. I know the one we're going to do because I know the movie you're going to go see is Super Mario Brothers.
That has definitely got my attention, mostly because it's Mario. It's video game related, so it's video games have been part of my life since I was little. And how can you not go see something that's been a classic for so many years?
So I'm saying right now, guaranteed, we will do a movie review, whether it's our first one or however many in. We will do a movie review of Super Mario Brothers. Again, we'll plan something out where if maybe it's just me doing a review on some of these movies because I am more of a movie buff where I will go to movies and everything like that. And so that's something we'll talk about too. Expect more trailers and everything like that. We have talked about games. We talk about a lot of things, and I know, but we are kind of in that process of wanting to do more, especially with football ending very soon.
Yep. Because we're just going to be covering, obviously, our like this, our pretty much our football podcast are probably going to be a little short, so we're looking for stuff to fill in as well. That's why we're talking about the college, we're talking about the draft, we're talking about Kraken right now, just to add in some extra time. We have found some ideas for game stuff, whether we play it live or we just record it and then upload it and do episodes of it. We have found some games that we haven't decided yet which way we want to do that, but at least we have found something that we are both interested in playing that we will enjoy.
And if anyone has any questions on sports talks, I did bring it up to you, kind of give you a kind of an idea of what might happen. It's not something. It'd be easier to do with the Mariners and the Kraken, either a weekly show or a monthly show, once a month show, because there are just so many games. We'll talk about that, about how, because something that I want us, we both agree that we kind of want to do is not give up sports on just football. We want to pay tribute to the Mariners and the Kraken because those are our teams. Yeah. So again, it could be a weekly show where we do it like football and do a week review of the said team. Or like we talked with baseball, it may be a once a month.
Yeah, baseball, that's a lot to do, especially for a week, because these guys are playing 4 to 5 games, sometimes 6 games a week.
They're playing the whole week pretty much.
So I mean, it's better just to go over the whole week and just talk about the whole week.
Yeah.
Or in some cases the whole month. I have been talking with Ryan, especially with the Kraken. I got a guy who's been a longtime hockey fan. Actually, I'd like to bring him on and be a guest star and actually have him talk about the Kraken. So I guess got to work with him and find out what works for all three of us to get on. And
anyone that's a subscriber, please, if you guys ever want to join in on anything, whether it's you want to be a part of a movie review, you want to be part of a sports talk, gladly, send us an email, send us a comment or message. We'll gladly read it, and maybe we'll plan something out. But
I was also going to say we also have some ideas too that we're going to try, as well as we brought up things like trying some taste testing stuff as well, like with food, obviously. Trying some different things, like put 3 things out here, try which one do we like the most, least. Also doing top 5s of certain subjects. And also, one thing we both found out that we would probably both love, and he showed me an example, voting brackets.
Yep.
Which I think we would enjoy, because especially the ones that we were talking about would be so hard for us to make choices on.
Yep. We did talk about bracketologies. Probably the first one we want to do, and probably the first one we're going to do, is bracketology. It's not going to be your normal 64, because we are not going to do 64 cartoons. Y'all can kiss my ass for 64 cartoons. At most 32.
We'll cut that in half.
At most 32.
Maybe even smaller.
Maybe 16. We'll talk about it, but we're going to do cartoons. Is one that we actually talked about a lot. We're not going to do sitcoms because we really don't watch sitcoms. I watch 2, but they're old. Big Bang Theory and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I don't think you really watch any sitcoms.
No, I really don't.
So it's going to be cartoons. We'll plan it out. We'll figure out a way to get that going. Probably not going to be a live. We'll probably just do recording of it. And yeah, that's all I got. Going back to football again. I wanted to give another shout out to JJ Watt for your amazing, wonderful career and all that you've done for the NFL and not only the NFL, but for the city of Houston and for all your fans. So, JJ Watt, thank you so much for the wonderful career that you've had. We will surely miss you and what you have brought. I do plan on getting your jersey, and probably a Texas one because that's where you were big at. But JJ Watt, thank you again for your wonderful career. And for all those teams, best of luck next year. And for the playoff teams, best of luck to you going forward in this playoff run. And see ya to all those teams that you know are going to lose.
Right.
And one last time for the regular season, because we know we got to say it, and I didn't say it during the game. Gotta give him a little slack.
Why would you stop?
He got the dub. He got the dubs. You got to give him some credit. They decided to play football and fuck over Seattle for a top 3 draft pick. So for that, Russell Wilson, last time of the regular season. Fuck you.
Oh boy. Are you gonna bring that back next year? I just want to know right now. Are you gonna bring it back for next year?
Why not? We're gonna make shirts of this. We ever do merchandise? That's a shirt.
That's a shirt.
We ever do merchandise?
For as long as Russell Wilson's playing, he's every week.
All right. If he goes to the Hall of Fame, Russell Wilson.
We're gonna show up at the Hall of Fame ceremony.
No. We pay respect to people in the Hall of Fame if we ever go. On TV, that's a different story. They ain't gonna. First of all, my ass is gonna get killed by a lot of those guys because I'm only 5'9". They're over 6 feet tall and bricks. They're houses. I'm a tractor. They're skyscrapers. I'm a shed. Okay. I've stood next to college linemen. I know where I stand. It's toward the bottom. They can lift their legs as high as my whole body and squish me. It's like watching Toy Story again. We're the toy. I'm the toy. They're the humans. They walk all over me.
Okay, everybody. Thank you guys all very much. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Please share your thoughts, any ideas, of course, for us that you would like us to do. And yeah, I think we've said pretty much everything. And
we'll send it off with our new catchphrase.
I was gonna say, so you remember?
I know my catchphrase. Everyone, good night, and as always,